So Gretchen, just how important is it to build positive habits? Can it actually be life-changing?
They really can. Research suggests that about 40% of our everyday life is shaped by our habits. So if we have habits that work for us, we're far more likely to be happy, healthy, and more productive. And if we change our habits for the better, we're going to really change our lives for the better.
Do you need to be really disciplined with ironclad willpower to be any good at this?
No. And that's where habits can really come into play, because it's hard to use our self-discipline and our self-control, and it's hard to make decisions every day, to make healthy choices. And habits are freeing and energizing because they get us out of the draining, demanding business of using self-control and making decisions. So if we put an action on habit, then it just happens on autopilot. We don't have to use any energy to do it. We just follow through automatically. You know, you're out the door and halfway to the gym before you even realize what you're doing.
Why do so many of us struggle with kicking our bad habits even though we know they're no good for us? What is going on?
Because we are such good advocates for ourselves for coming up with excuses about why we should be let off the hook when it comes to keeping our good habits. And this is loopholes. And I decided that there were 10 categories of loopholes. So it might be the tomorrow loophole, like, well, it doesn't matter what I do today because tomorrow I'm going to be so good. Or maybe it's the moral licensing loophole. Oh, I've been so good, I deserve to do this. Or maybe it's the false self-actualization loophole, like, oh, you only live once, I need to enjoy this moment. So there's 10 different categories, which basically means that for any situation, if we're trying to find an excuse for why we shouldn't have to keep a good habit, we can find an excuse. And so I think part of it is that we need to recognize these loopholes when we are trying to invoke them, so that we can maybe think, well, you know what, I've come up with this loophole, but I actually want to stick to my good habit.
Now, are there any easy ways to break a bad habit?
So one of the things to think about is convenience and inconvenience, because we're really much more likely to do something if it's convenient and very much less likely to do something if it's inconvenient. So if you're trying to break a bad habit, what you want to do is make it as difficult as possible to indulge in that habit. So let's say your bad habit is that you go downstairs to your kitchen at midnight and eat a lot of ice cream out of the container. So you want to make that as inconvenient as possible. So maybe you want to put that ice cream container into a plastic bag, so you're going to have to really work at it to untie it. Or maybe if you have a basement or garage with a freezer, you're going to put it there so you can't even just go to the kitchen. You're going to have to go to a completely different part of your house. By making things very inconvenient, we make ourselves much less likely to do it. And by the same token, if there's something you want yourself to do, you want to make that as convenient as possible.